Welcome to Oregon Voters Digest, the program that brings forward the social and political issues that are important to people living here in the Pacific Northwest. And now, your host, Bruce Broussard.
Welcome again to this segment of the Oregon Voters Digest. I'm Bruce Broussard. By George, I stayed up till 3:30 last night looking at that debate. I mean, that's just another show in itself. I may have to take a lunch to respond to that. But bottom line, we're not going to do that tonight. What we're going to do, we're going to just focus here locally on what's going on here locally. And maybe we might get a couple of things in on the next segment of that. We're going to do a two-part show like we normally do. But the bottom line is that we still have some major issues here. And I know a candidate that's really out there knocking on doors. And I mean, to the point that they knocked on my doors to the point that I said, hey, look, I interviewed these folks. And by George, I got what I wanted out of it. You know, I'm a very conservative kind of a guy, businessman and the like and whatever. And there's another, one of the gentlemen that's on here all the time. His name is Jack Kerfoot. He falls in the same arena aspect of it. And then Dwight Minnieweather. He's here with us today, too. Again, he's very, very community related, et cetera, et cetera. And we had the opportunity to bring this particular guest in, and we interviewed her. And she was running for mayor. She's two people on the ballot. There are two people on the ballot. Her and that other guy. And the fact of the matter is that, you know, after sitting down with her, and by the way, before I say this, after basically trying to get the mayor to come in and just orientate the people and the 19 people that ran for mayor, at least give them some idea of what's going on in City Hall, he would never show up. He never showed up. And then all of a sudden one day, in all due respect, the campaign, the other person called me up, straight up. We had a good meeting, and I thought it was a good meeting, and I felt very, very comfortable with them. And so as a result of that, we just kind of like said, okay, fine. Hey, they're the only person running. They're the only person running. So we've got to get the message out to the public that they're solid as a rock, and a conservative like myself, and maybe Jack, and maybe Dwight, if you will. We basically support that. We support her. So in all due respect, she does relate. And it kind of bothered me, and I had to put this up front because it bothered me when I've got about almost 4 to 5 flyers talking about this person that I interviewed, talking about how divisive she was, and this and using them 4-letter words and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know how many times I've used them, but the fact of the matter is, I was a member of the Chamber of Commerce at one point in time. This is the business community downtown. And I can imagine running for office as a conservative. I didn't get invited, if you will, to the business community, if you will, to come and speak to the group. Because if anybody knows what's going on in business as it relates to community issues in this area, I do. And my point is that when I made that effort to get out and reach and talk to this person, and they're constantly here on an ongoing basis, I mean, hey, this person will do it. And as far as being able to orientate her, because of the lacking, if you will, of the present sitting person at City Hall, I got the background. I've got background. I got business background. The people that are on here with me are business oriented. They're community oriented. They know what's going on, and they've got solutions to problems. So in all due respect, once she's sitting at that table in that seat, she has access to us. And the fact of the matter is, we'll be a part of that committee. It's not costing the people anything. We are there for her. She does have the expertise to be mayor of the city of Portland. She has she has the meaningful effort. She's a family person. I like that aspect of it. Sarah Ianaron, right up front with it. That's who should be in that seat. So with that, that's my introduction. Let's get down to business. And right up front with it, I was able to pull the campaign manager. The campaign manager, he only has a few minutes. Probably got less than what he told me he was going to do, but he only has a couple more minutes before he's going to be getting out there knocking on those doors. And the same thing now, Sarah can't. She's out there doing it right now. You know what I mean? She's doing it right now. So let's just jump right on into the show. What we're going to do, we're going to hit that targeted area of Antifa too. But the first thing we're going to do, we're going to have Gregory come on and give us a little quickie update of what's going on with the campaign. And then we'll just get right on in this issue of Antifa, and then basically, we'll do that piece and let you get let him go on his own way, and then our guys, the team, will get together and we'll talk not only beyond the local issue aspect of it, but we'll also talk a little bit about the debates last night. It was a good deal. Point then. Okay, Greg, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me, and excuse my informal attire, but I'm just out there delivering things in the doors, calling people 24/7, hardly sleeping at all because we're just trying to get as much voter contact in as we can. So it's really hard hitting the campaign trail. Ted Wheeler, as you said, him and his super PAC have been sending a lot of negative mailers, but we really believe that it'll be the voter contact that we're doing and really getting the positive message about Sarah out that's going to make the difference here. The current mayor has been mayor for 4 years, and it's interesting that he received all of these mailers and not any of them mention anything about his record in 4 years. And you would think if you were mayor, you would be able to run on your accomplishments, not simply running on what Sarah Iannarone is saying or trying to say that she can't be mayor because she's a woman who is cursed before, or talking about what she wears. And it has no place in any politics, but especially in Portland politics. We need somebody who is a leader, who is unafraid to call out things as she sees it. And you know what? Maybe it's okay to have a woman mayor who cusses. But it really has been disheartening to see that the mayor has stooped to this level of campaigning, because he's been mayor for 4 years. And if he was proud of his record, I would want him to run on that record and we could have a debate about the issues and the policy differences that we have. And instead, this campaign is stooped down to, is Sarah Iannarone too angry or too mean, or does she tweet too much? And that's not what the people of Portland care about. The people of Portland care about if they can afford rent, if they can afford their health care, if their small business is going to close, if the business that they work for is going to close, when they're going to be able to get back to work from this pandemic, if there's anybody that they can call for relief from this pandemic. That's what the people of Portland care about, not if Sarah Iannarone has tweeted too much.
Okay, sounds great to me. And look here, let's just jump right into this Antifa deal. And as I indicated to you, we talked a little bit about this before you got on. You have to understand, the voting public out there are just not as familiar with the whole definition of Antifa. I mean, the bottom line is that they're concerned about what's happening in their communities, the protestings at night, if you will, and that kind of deal, and the fact that their taxes might go up because the cost keeps going up. And no one is trying to counter that with some sort of a solution. Maybe like a bonding the deal. Maybe someone responsible to sign up for a permit, if you will, do something like that. And then maybe Standard Insurance, one of the biggest companies. I noticed they were listed. I worked with them when I was at United Way. Standard, they're part of the community aspect of it. That bothers me. I plan to give them a call, if you will, to get a feel for why are they doing this. If anything, they should be working with her, should be calling her in to their boardroom and just asking her the question exactly what's this all about. Okay, all right.
Sure. I think a couple aspects of it. Part of why the big business community, so not small business owners really, but those who, the Portland Business Alliance, Nike, Portland General Electric, they're really in a different sort of category than many of the Portland homegrown businesses and the small businesses that keep our city afloat. Nike obviously does create a lot of jobs, and so do these things, but they have interests beyond the city of Portland. And one of those, but they also are very invested, not necessarily in Ted Wheeler's policies per se, but in having a mayor who, when an issue comes up, refers to and defers to the interests of Nike and Portland General Electric as opposed to constituents. So it's not necessarily that they hate Sarah's policies, it's that they feel as though they don't have a direct line to influence Sarah Iannarone, which is correct. They don't have any more influence over Sarah than you or I or any Portlander does, and that's the way that it should be. On the Antifa part of it, Sarah describes herself as an anti-fascist, and I think all Americans should be proudly anti-fascist. There is a lot of disinformation about whether she's a member of some terrorist cell or something like that. Sarah's not a card-carrying member of an Antifa group, just like nobody is a card-carrying member of Antifa. What she does condemn is violence on all sides. And so if somebody is committing physical violence against a person, she'll condemn that. But the thing is, she's also going to condemn police violence. And that's one side of the equation that our mayor has failed to condemn, and then that's what results in continued nights of protest, as she's unwilling to work in community to reform the police bureau and move it into the 21st century and put it in line with the rest of our community. And so, Sarah doesn't like violence, but she doesn't like violence from the police bureau as well. And the police bureau, she will have direct control over as mayor, or at least a lot of influence depending on who the police commissioner is. Sarah Iannarone does not control protesters. So she can yell and scream and say whatever about any sort of protester's actions, but she cannot control a protester's actions. She can control the police's actions and how we reform police and how we respond to the calls from our community for a reformed police bureau. And that's what she plans to do.
Okay. Just a little quick, you mentioned PGE. A good friend of mine by the name of Chuck McCullen was at PGE. He's since passed away. I used to sit on the board of directors of Boys and Girls Club, an aspect of it. And Chuck was a very, very good man, a good person, if you will. PGE is a very solid company, and they're a good company. The fact of the matter is, Chuck would be someone that would have been more than glad to sit down with her and chat with her about this issue, not publish something before and not having any opportunity to chat with the person. So I just want to make sure I get that out there, because it's very, very important. Some of the big businesses in this town are solid citizens, and so it bothers me when folks like that will come on out, and even Nike to a certain degree. When you think about the Nike and all the contributions that they've made, but also how many blacks have made that company. They made that company. I know some folks even locally, if you will, that was part and parcel of making those tennis shoes at one point in time. I mean, I just go on and on. We've got some real decent folks here that live in the city of Portland, and I do not see. It's almost like saying they're outsiders. And those are the ones that are outside, basically influencing for their own benefits, trying to get that property. Basically, we work hard, if you will, in the Northeast Portland corridor. And these people are being displaced, being sent, i.e., east, if you will, towards Gresham and whatever. We're losing that property. We're losing home ownership. Mm-hmm. We're losing the response. So anyway, I just want to throw that in there. And by the way, I understand, she couldn't be here, but I understand you might have a small piece on Sarah, which we can see her physically talking about Santifa piece. Can we do that?
Let's play that and talk about it shortly, and then I'll have to run.
Good. Sounds good. Okay, good. This is it, folks.
We all have different learning styles and dispositions, so making sure everybody's feeling like they have a place where they can. Morning. Am I Antifa? I am proudly everyday anti-fascist, because being opposed to fascism in 2020 should not be a controversial position. And in fact, it's something that we've espoused since the beginning of this campaign. Antifa is not an organization, it's a position, and that position says that there will be no safe harbor for hatred and bigotry, especially in our cities, which is where I'm functioning, right, in an urban area. And what that looks like when I say everyday anti-fascism is community coming together to keep each other safe. But beyond that, there's the mutual aid aspect of it, where it's community coming together, as we saw recently, to respond to the wildfires that were burning all along the American West Coast. And what did it mean when our neighbors across Oregon were losing their homes or needed to regroup before they could go back from being evacuated? And we came together as a community to gather supplies, to send help, and that also is what that work looks like on the ground day to day. And then thinking from my perspective as a future policymaker, executive level official in the city, how can we mobilize our municipal resources to actually empower communities to keep each other safe, even as we go through the process of transforming law enforcement and the criminal justice system to be less racist, and to not waste so much of our resources, because as we know now, it's a drag on our communities in every aspect and at every level of the system.
Okay, that sounds good. Hey, Greg, real quick, like, what about this business with the skirt deal? That they've been jumping on that piece. Throw that out there. Because, we have an
Yeah.
issue with China now. They're talking about, I'm getting ready to pull out my fatigues now all of a sudden.
No. So again, it's just disappointing that, and I'm not saying this to you, but I'm saying that people have made it an issue that her tweets and her skirts might be an issue. So I'm disappointed that we're talking about tweets and skirts. Not that you would ask the question, but that this question is something that has come up in this campaign.
Exactly.
But she wore a skirt to an event that was called The Spectacle, where you were supposed to wear the most absurd thing that you can find. There was a pop art skirt similar to Andy Warhol that was being sold at the Portland Saturday Market. Lots of Portlanders have it. And she wore an absurd skirt that had a lot of historical figures on it. Bob Dylan, I think, was on it. A lot of different just historical figures from the 60s, and it's satire. And the thing is, some people don't understand satire. Some people don't understand the context. The picture was from 2016, but people have made it an issue to just talk about her skirt, and the skirt does not reflect any of her policies, and all of her policy positions are outlined on her website. So I just wish that the people who are upset about the skirt would instead attack her policies if they do have a difference of opinion with her policies. And I think that's what Portlanders deserve, is a discussion over the future of our city, not over skirts and tweets.
Sounds great. By the way, real quick, like right before you leave, but you're at home, I take it, right?
I am. My dog's in the background, but I got to leave. Yep.
You got to leave. What about those two dudes? The ones that are following you, are they around? Can we get a little quick photo?
Nah, they're not around. They went to go see my wife. They went to go see my wife's mom today for.
All right, boy, those are some neat little dudes. I know they run the house.
They're funny people.
I know they run the house. Well, great. Thank you very much. Tell Sarah say hi, and you guys keep the good work up. Okay, fine.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, Bruce.
Sure enough. Thank you very much. Okay, guys. Well, now that we've got it, what we're going to do now is that let's bring the other guys on right now. We got Jack and we got Dwight here, and then we got Steve in the background. He's always saying something. He's got those chartreuse glasses on. I tell you, he's always cool. I would ask him why is it. And then he's got I don't know where he got this cover. I mean, Jack, you're gonna have to deal with that. Jack, you're gonna deal with that cover piece he's got up there. He's cool. He's cool. What military group is that? I mean, I tell you, I'm getting this deal now because I was up till 3:30 this morning watching that carnival. Oh, he's got it. He just changed it. He just changed it, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, all right. I guess we can go with the show now. He bothers me there for a minute. All right. So okay, let's get on. Jack, what do you think?
Well, I think the first thing that many people may not understand is, what is fascism? Well, fascism really is a political philosophy, movement, or regime that exalts a nation, often a race, above the individual. So if we look at what countries have said they were fascist, Nazi Germany, Nazi Italy during the Second World War, Japan, Imperial Japan, which had fascism as their fundamental core philosophy. And that's what the United States and Britain and the Allies fought against, was fighting against fascism. Now, when we talk about being Antifa, what that simply means is you're against fascism. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm against fascism. I'm against a country that would persecute a religion or a group of people simply because they are different from that standpoint. So to me, saying that you are against fascism is not controversial at all. What I do appreciate about Sarah is she's laid out policies on her platform that are very well defined. Unfortunately, with Mayor Wheeler, we heard policies 4 years ago, and very few of those policies were ever implemented. And now we talk about the campaign today, and the only thing we hear is, don't vote for Sarah. Don't vote for Sarah. Well, excuse me, Mayor Wheeler, with all due respect, please explain why I should vote for you.
Good point. point. I might add to that too, Jack, is that it's interesting how three of the major papers here in the local area all basically endorse, not basically, they endorse Mayor Wheeler. Whereas beforehand, for the last 3.5 years, they were always writing big negative things about it because of some of the things he was doing and not accomplishing. And it's kind of interesting why. And I will discuss this a little bit more, I think, as time goes on. But we got Dwight here, too. I'd like for Dwight to comment a bit about the video he just saw and some of the points that Gregory made. Right?
Well, yeah, I'm looking at the point of how the politics are disagreeing with themselves. It's not really the people. The politics have changed of how they politically approach us and how they come to get our votes. So the new politics are, you don't have to tell them what you're going to do. You don't have to say what you're going to do. You don't have to show your record. All you got to do is be able to bring up some dirt on the other person. And now we don't know why we're voting for you. You just telling us why not to vote for this other individual. And it's all by not their policies or anything about them. It's just about you not wanting to explain to us whether you're going to be the president or whether you're going to be a governor or whether you're going to be whoever. And once that explanation time comes, you can't play politics and say something just to please the people to get a vote when we don't even know what you're going to actually do. If you get back in, Ted, what you're going to really do. You haven't said one thing that we could grab a hold of as a community that I can go share with the community to say, hey, I'm Pastor Minnieweather and I endorse where we're going as Portland, Oregon. And I can tell you guys in the African-American community we're safe and everything's okay. I can't assure them of anything like that. And with Miss Iran, at least there's the opportunity for her to fail because some have already made promises. We haven't seen them. Now they're making more promises. And I'll say on this thing, like anybody else said, you have 4 years to come through with those promises. So what you want a lot more time to let us know that you're still not going to do what you said. So where I'm at, as far as listening to her and understanding that, she's not for the negativity of rioting, tearing up, looting. She's not supporting the violent part of the Antifa, but she's saying I'm anti-fascist. And what I feel is that I'm going to protect all the things that we're about. I'm going to stand for all the things. And that's not a popular place to be right now, standing for all rights and for everybody. So I just wanted to make sure that I highlight the fact that, as I look at this race and I look at what I'm looking at, I'm telling people to vote on information, man. Don't vote on just some feeling about what someone said and how you felt about it. Go and do some research and vote for things that's going to move for you. Don't just vote because they said, oh, this is what's up. You got to look it out. And I thank God for that because I have done some research on Sarah's policies and she got some good policies. I can say myself that I can narrate them. I can identify them. I can tell someone what they are. And if they ask me, well, what do you think about Ted and what he's going to do? I'm at the drop of a jaw. I'm just stuck.
Okay, that was a good deal, good deal. And just another little piece along that particular line. And let's speak a little bit about the media and how and the influence that media has. And in fact, when we talk about COVID-19 at this point in time, everybody's struggling, and especially businesses like, if you will, like media. And I think about the newspapers that I just mentioned, the Oregonian, the Tribune, and the Willamette Beacon aspect of it. I think about them because they're constantly they're having some tough times too, tough times. And I love to have a piece of, I actually have a newspaper with a cup of coffee, and take it out and whatever, and subscribe, if you will. And right now they're having a tough time getting subscriptions. And in all due respect, and we're expecting them to give us the news, let us know what's going on around us aspect of it. And they're telling us about COVID and this, that, and other. But in this particular case, how can you endorse a person that you have been writing about negatively for the last 3.5 years? And then all of a sudden, here we are, you endorse from another person who has not even been in office yet. You got me? I mean, give me a break. And then the other thing is that when you start thinking about some of the words and things and some of the articles that are in, I've been reading the paper for a long time. Got me? And I tell you, I've seen things worse than this. But the concerns I would have, spend more time maybe asking her just what are the solutions, if you will. Let's talk a little bit more about the solutions for the issues of the protesting and its impact on the neighborhoods and the kids and the drugs and mental illness and the whole issue with the homeless aspect of it. Those are the kinds of things you should be asking of each of the candidates. You got me? And the definition of police commissioner. I heard today that well, anyway, along that particular lines. But remember, as subscribers, you're asking the subscribers to please subscribe. You're having a tough time. You're gonna have to cut down on your staff. I don't want that to happen. But by George, you're the one that's has been written up in the newspapers about different things that of major concern. For instance, like when the public asked you, basically said, "Hey, we want to cap these fundraising piece." I mean, big business has been buying these political positions for years, if you will, and you basically were taking the lead. And I'm talking about the newspapers. Then all of a sudden, Mayor Willis sitting up there. He's been there 4 years. He was there when the thing first came out, when the county was going through the whole issue with the capping aspect of it, and he supported that. And then he knew what the law was. And then all of a sudden, now just recently, he pops in $150,000 in his race, knowing what the law is all about. But what is that? Where did the money come from? He doesn't need the money. The guy's a millionaire. You know what I mean? But the fact of it is, the paper didn't come up and say, well, okay, fine. Let's find out specifically, where did he get the money? Where did he get the money? If it was his, then why? Write that story. Put that story in the piece. But don't insult the readership, if you will, out here. 80% of the people said cap. That's what they said. And he should have known better than that. But my point is that that's what the newspaper, that's what I get out of the newspaper. That's why I want to read the newspaper with that cup of coffee first thing in the morning. Now I'm having to Google it. But because what I've done, I've paid for a subscription. So now they come through the mail aspect of it. But now the papers are saying the reason why I got to pay for it, a lot of times, especially the Tribune. It's the only paper that we have, really, that basically circulates throughout the city. And that bothers me, especially the Tribune, because I've always had very respectful for them. But then, like I know, it's like anything else. It's always about the bottom line, in many ways. So, but I just want to make sure that we understand that. And then a lot of the people and I can understand where the realtors are coming from. They want that property. That's what it's all about. That's what that's all about. So that's just business as usual. But I want to throw that out again. That's what of it. And Jack, I'm gonna come right back to you. Any other points you might want to make along that line?
Well, I think there are several things we've got to recognize. First of all, as far as newspapers, not only in Oregon or in Portland, but across the nation, they've cut back on their staffs and have for the last 10 years. And so, unfortunately, the ability to generate quality journalism has diminished because the staff have just decreased significantly. You even saw that in major stations like CNN that have basically cut their staffs by half over the last decade. With that said, what you have is a fear of change. When someone has a position that's different from the establishment and people are looking for solutions, they sometimes go back to what they're used to. And they may be more comfortable with Ted, feeling that he is someone they can, shall we say, will give them a seat at the table to listen to their views, whereas Sarah is a new person and they may not feel that they have the same access. Like he pointed out, that Sarah would treat businesses with the same attitude as everyone else, you and I, Bruce, from that standpoint. So I think we have to realize it's a couple of things. One, the diminished staff, and two, change. It's hard for many people to accept change. To me, like Pastor Dwight, I look at the actual policies that each politician has written about and their positions, and I really don't care if they tweet or not, and I really don't care if they their attire or not. I'm more interested in what they're talking about and what they see are the most important issues for our city of Portland. And we've got many major issues facing the city. And the real question is, who is most qualified to address those problems that our city is faced with today And some of them may be different than we've seen in the past. But sometimes we've got to try different, or we're going to continue to have the same results and the same failures time and time again.
Right on. Right.
Yeah, all I can do is echo that same effect. That it's gonna take us to come to an understanding of that was just said. And we got to push ourselves to look for differences. We got to push ourselves to not just go on propaganda and things that people say. And once we do that largely more, I think as an inclusive around, it comes back to the fact that we make better decisions, better choices when informed.
Okay. Another point about that whole media piece aspect of it is that another issue that's come onto the table that I thought the media would probably pick up. But again, it was picked up in a very negative. I'm talking about Teresa Rayford right now, okay? I mean, and there was a big article. Oh, look like we get. I tell you what, we're gonna take a short break, and then we're gonna come right back. Welcome back, folks. I hope you got that cup of tea and you're sitting back, and you probably call a couple of neighbors to come and sit at the table, because, boy, I tell you, I got some good ones on today. I got some guys that got some good stuff to share with you, if you will. They're just beans and potatoes, if you will. You know what I'm saying? Maybe throw a few neck bones in them greens or something. Get down to business. I noticed that because I noticed Steve had already, he ran back to the kitchen, and now he's eating. You won't see him, see. We're out here doing all the work, and he's up there eating. I mean, oh my God! He just put a rib bone in his mouth, and he just. Anyway, like I said, I just got up, folks. I've been looking at debate and this, that, and the other, and then the commentary. No, really, realistically, when you really want to get into debate, you don't have to worry about the debate. Just wait till it's over and get the commentaries. That's where the fun is. That's where the real meat comes out in the whole deal. But please, don't put two TVs up there and try to figure out you're gonna look at both of them. Trust me. And don't get too excited about it and stressing it, whatever. And like Dwight and both Jack said, just understand you got your voter pamphlet sitting in your hand. Check out the policies, what they recommend and whatever. Don't get too excited, because you got commercial TV. They're selling ads, folks. You got to sell ads. Each of those individuals that you see on that TV are making $1 million plus. It's a whole different ball game. You know what I'm saying? And they're having a ball. But these are some serious times right now. But trust me, we're still the USA. And I'm sure, like the guys that are all here, we all have our covers, our caps, if you will. And we all form a military. And, and I'm sure that they've visited places like I have, around the world for that matter. And boy, I tell you, it's nothing like the good old USA. Trust me. It's just one of the things that you get out of that camaraderie, if you will, and knowledge when you basically spend that time of tour. You can really appreciate this country, because now it is your address. It is your address. It is your home. And so I want you to know that that's one of the reasons why we wear these covers. And I try to motivate and get the military personnel to come on, because they too are citizens. They're solid, conservative, if you will, citizens, if you will. They know what this country is all about, aspect of it. They know that it's theirs. So I want to make sure you understand that. And then I want you to be able to understand that we've got military out there, and I want them to make sure that they understand that they can come and enjoy what we're doing, because they too are good, serious voters, and they too are involved. And believe me, they've served their country very, very loyal and respectfully. And I want to make sure that we saying thanks for serving. Every time we come on the show, we want to make sure we recognize our veterans very, very much. Okay, so we're back now, and we're going to do this second half. The first half, if you missed it, you can catch it at a later date, and that's on Tuesdays and Fridays. You'll get the respective time, because they'll be posting that also on that end. And so check it out. Very important. Okay, got me? But again, this is vote time. The voting is right around the corner, and you probably got those ballots sitting in your hand right now. You got them in your hands right now, and we want you to pull them out, because now we're going to spend a little bit more time on the city of Portland, which is vital right here in Oregon, and then let me chat a little bit about the debate last night. We want to chat with you. about the debate a little bit last night, and I want to invite you. We got our own guest folks that are here. We got the pastor, very, very much involved in the community, very, very much involved. Know the youth, know the issues for that matter, and it's just valuable information and background. And we're thankful to have him here. Then we got Jack who ran previously for city council. He ran for the Nick Fish seat. Old Nick, I remember old Nick, good man, good man. But Jack has been here and he's going to continue to be here because he's future. He's future. And we want Jack to be on that seat, one of those seats, if you will, if not another seat. We're looking for good people who have background, who have a resume aspect of it. People who understand that once they get on there, they may look at orientation, if you will, for upcoming elections. Because that's what we went through when we were in the military. It called it MOS, military occupational skill. I mean, after you get through going through boot camp, they put you into a career skill. So at the end of the day, you got a resume aspect of it. You know exactly who you are and what you do. There's no such thing as unemployment in the military. We all have a job. and the more money you get in your pocket, that means more stripes up there, whether it be on your sleeve or on your collar, one way or the other. The fact of the matter is you got to earn them, and you learn that. You learn how to survive. That's really what's made this country so powerful. We're very, very diversified, big time. There's no such thing as race up there. The only thing of race you got is one on your collar and one on your sleeve. That's where the race is. And trust me, you respect that piece. And that's a solid piece. It's unfortunately, a lot of you are going to miss it because we don't have the draft anymore. We don't have the draft. We have an all-volunteer military because now we're in the punch button age. People carry a briefcase. The president carries a briefcase for security. You know, and then the other thing is that the SF is just there. And we got our youth out here now trying to figure out where to go. We got our education system is kind of like people don't understand what that's all about. We got family issues aspect, but we're still the USA, and that's one of the reasons why we have votings every 2 years, if you will, to kind of get the type of leadership that we need to get us back on track. We're there. The focus are there. It's just to get them motivated, if you will, to come on and serve. But we got to organize ourselves from the standpoint of how to educate people about why they're needing to serve and what this system is all about. And why it's so important that we all are functioning as individuals. Very, very important. Well, I've said enough, and I'm going to get these guys right on in there. And let's see. I think I'm going to hit. I'm going to hit you first, right? Did you see the debate last? At least some of
it. Yeah. Well, I watched it. It was a very entertaining piece. You know, I enjoyed a lot of it because it was just very, eye-opening. When I say to myself, okay, well, what about running for like mayor in your city if you did, Pastor? The kind of attacks that they would be on wouldn't be your policy. They wouldn't care about what it was you were talking about. They're gonna want to know, was you with that girl that was a Republican in the motel? Yeah. So it's like okay, well, and if you wasn't, they're gonna make it up for you anyway. So you was over there anyway. So I laughed because I was sitting there and just said, man, what a disgrace to us, really. Not to be able to sit there and hear some stuff that's about some stuff that has something to do with COVID relief, having something to really do with what's going to happen next as far as this reforming of the police, just stuff that they didn't really sit down on and talk about because they were slinging mud real. There was a mud-slinging contest. They were slinging a lot of mud last night. I'm talking about thick mud, not no thin mud.
Yes. Yes,
they were throwing thick mud last night. I was like, ooh-wee, what are we going to get from this? So that's where I'm at on the debate. I just saw a bunch of something. I don't even really know what it was. It was really messy. I had to wipe myself off even though I wasn't even on the stage.
I heard that. No, I hear that. I hear that loud and clear. Yeah. And we're going to give you a minute. I know you got some more to say. Yeah. I'm going to get Jack. You're going to get him on the table. Then I'm going to throw a piece. I already done my piece on the front end. Hold on, Jack. What you got, Jack?
Well, I didn't watch the debate, but what I have done is look at the policies that each one has talked about and also their action plans. Having lived over 20 years of my life overseas, in countries around the world and traveled extensively on work in Africa and South America and lived in Asia and Europe and South Australia. Foreign policy to me is very important. I think it's important to recognize that Vice President, when Joe Biden was Vice President, under his watch, they actually sent in a force to capture Osama bin Laden. And that took a lot of determination. It would have been easy to take a non-confrontational way from that standpoint. He has a very strong foreign policy background. On the other side, let's look at President Trump. What he has done is he has alienated some of the NATO countries and some of the European allies from that standpoint, which concerns me. At the same time, he's built very strong relationships in Israel, and he's been able to get a peace agreement signed between several Middle Eastern countries and Israel, which before not only didn't recognize Israel, were quite happy to see the obliteration of Israel. So from that standpoint, that's very strong. I lived in Oman and I've worked and lived in Turkey, and I have many friends who originally grew up in Iran. Some even still live in Iran and worked with me in Oman. And each one of them actually said they supported the actual embargo that initially was placed against the Iranian government, against the Ayatollah and the Islamic group that's there. And they were really concerned when President Obama removed that with the other European powers. So from that standpoint, I see pluses and minuses on foreign policy on both sides. Fiscal policy, our national debt is almost equal to our gross domestic product. We've never had so much debt before. I fear that will be the case regardless of who's elected, but I'm deeply concerned about that debt because that will undermine our economy. Now, as far as COVID is concerned, there's still, we talk about the science says, I think we need to reframe that to say the science thinks with the data we have today. So I think we're going to recognize that both presidents will try and do what's best for the people to get a vaccination out as quickly as possible. President Trump is a real estate person by background, and he's always a salesman, and he will always say his is the best plan. I'm not sure that we know which is the best plan or what it will look like. I have talked to people around the US and around the world, and I just heard someone yesterday speak on the hotel industry and the service industry around the world. And their model says that we won't be back to 2019 type of levels of business until 2023 or 2024. So that means that our economy and the world economy is going to be in some very hard times for the next 3 or 4 years. So from that standpoint, I see positive and I see negatives for both sides.
Again, following up on where you're saying in regards, a lot of times people look at it from the standpoint of what does an economy mean, if you will. But just the average person, the majority of the voter aspect of it. There's this one thing, can I pay this rent this month? Where am I going to get the money for my food? You know what I'm saying? These kids need some shoes, and Daddy, you doing the work, and what's talking about laying off and demonstrating? Now, where is the check? You know what I'm saying? So that's so that's a very serious piece, and a lot of times we don't pay enough of that. We don't recognize that, and a lot of times media, in most cases, and TV is pretty well dedicated to the folks who's got the money, And then a lot of times all of the negatives, if you will, you feature all the folks who can't do nothing. Got me? And and so it just go on and on and on. So it's very, very important, and that's what I was getting out of the campaign. And what I mean by that is that I think we got 4 years ago, everybody was concerned and just came to a head, and we all called it swamp. And we were looking for leadership for the swamp. Somebody would clean up this mess in Washington. I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind when I think about Washington was this one congressman was having stacks of dollar bills in a freezer. The person looked like me, so to speak. But the fact of the matter is, everybody was just kind of getting as much money as they could get. On the stock market, they had access to the Wall Street, and you can look at all of their accounts. You spent spent 2 terms in the Congress, and you heard it. You could read about this stuff all the time. You spend they tell you you spent 2 terms in Congress, and you're a millionaire. You don't have to worry about anything. You got me? And you know, just go on. And all these folks that were here, basically campaigning up front, was telling the little people what they wanted to hear. And then once they got elected, what are you talking about? Just, you know, and so that's what I was trying to figure out. What happened to that enthusiasm about what the people were saying? Clean this swamp up. You got to start reacting to my concerns. You know what I mean? I'm hungry. I don't have a job, and this, that, and the other. And I thought that was the deal. So now I'm going to go up 4 years and said, okay, fine. What did the candidates contribute? Well, you know, in all due respect, when Biden was there with President Obama, I didn't see Biden. I didn't see Biden. All I saw was President Obama. First time a black has ever been elected to that kind of position. I really didn't know. A lot of people didn't even realize he was there until he was gone. But the fact of the matter is, he did serve, and he served honorably, and that was very key. And then now, on the other hand, with Trump, he was the only one that basically took the baton and said, "Okay, I'll go make an attempt to just clean the swamp up." Because I've been sitting up there playing politics up in the tower between jobs, if you will, building and this, that, and the other. And he just took it on. He had no background. He just went in there and like he was building a project, if you will, dealing with the labor union and this and that. And so, and at the same time, he's having a family and still trying to eat, all the kids and getting involved. I mean, he had his own lane. And I think that's the only reason why he was able to survive 4 years. I mean, he was just like the ever-ready battery. This guy was just moving, and he always had something to say against sales. That's where he was, aspect of it. So the one thing that I saw at the end of that 4 years was because one of the major concerns that I had was the fact that there were some within our ranks that couldn't vote. Black people couldn't vote. There were some issues down south and made all kind of obstacles and whatever. Well, today, everybody can vote. I mean, it's so popular now. People were voting before they were even debating. I mean, they were just making concessions, especially in the South, and that's a good thing. I mean, because we just can't afford the racism and the hate and this, that, and the other. We just can't afford this kind of stuff. And you know, people are mixing up. People are intermarrying and all this other good stuff. Aspect of it. We are still the U.S. and we're still the most powerful country in the world, if you will. And you know, so the race thing. I mean, the voting thing was very important to me. Very, very important. We don't have to deal with that particular issue. And so the other thing that concerned me was the whole issue was the pandemic aspect of it. And when you think about that, when it came upon me, the first thing I heard was come and test. Well, the first thing that came to my mind was, okay, I go to the doctor's office, they tell me I'm sick, the doctor gives me a prescription. He tests me and then he gives me a prescription. Well, in the open 19, it was they test me and they tell me to go home. And I'm trying to figure out, well, where's the prescription? The layperson, if I'm sick, if you will. So that was the thing that concerned me, because in the past, it was just a matter of just, okay, fine. When a person got sick, they compared notes. We initiated the World Health Organization, and the whole idea of those doctors and this, that, and the other was doing one thing: defining what definition of what is the sickness, and then what was the cure. And in most cases, they go on and get the cure before it gets to the point where it's crazy. And then the prescription is there, and then they put it out there. And then when a person gets sick, depending on it, they put it out there. And guess what? You get a prescription when the doctor tells you you're sick. And so, and then the confusion, and then as this whole business with pandemic came up, then it became a media thing. CNN and Fox. In fact, it was not just CNN and Fox; it was CNN and President Trump. And those are the two entities. One was pushing for the testing, and the president had the cure. That's the way I looked at it, because he immediately went out and got just the basic stuff. You know, just like if you get a cold, you go down to the pharmacist and you get about 4 or 5 different pieces, if you will, of cold tablets and cold this and cold draw, this, that, and the other, and whatever. And that's what you dealt with. And if it gets worse, then you go down to the doctor or something. And then he gives you something, whether it be an inoculation or they put you in. So then you saw that back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And right up front with it, that's going to be the outcome of the election to a certain degree. You got me? Who lobbied the most? And I'm saying with the cure, it was expedited. I mean, if nothing had been said about the cure, we wouldn't be having it now. I guess my understanding, one of them has already been signed off on. We've got some. Now the thing is, well, a lot of people are being told on the other side, on one side, look, I wouldn't take it. I wouldn't even take this. I don't want inoculation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Why? Trump. I mean, what's going on? So, and the only reason why I'm sharing it with you this way, I mean, that's what I do. That's my lane. That's my lane. I'm constantly looking at all of this stuff, but that's my view. But I'm not saying you've got an opinion also too. And I think what you need to do is think about that and talk about it. Don't get it to the point where it's just tearing us up. We've got some serious problems right now. A lot of people are not working, especially little people, and they can't pay their bills. And there's a responsibility there. And I think about people who are trying to pay their rent aspect of it. I think about old people who have set their incomes and in some cases might have bought a little side of an extra piece of property, if you will. And they're dependent upon that for their lifestyle. And then now they're being told, well, look here, the person don't have to pay the rent. And the people who are saying, well, gee, that's a pretty good idea. I may have the money, but guess what? I don't have to pay the rent anymore. Go buy me 2 or 3 joints now. They're all free. I couldn't afford the one on the corner. And legalize that piece. So I can go on and on and on, but my point is that that's what came to my mind. I think the major things that came out of my mind was that deal to see that black people now across the board can vote. That's going to help this country out quite a bit, because that means everybody is on the same level. Now we can move to another piece. I mean, and then like I said, anything in the future with reference to pandemics, I think the way we can solve it, please don't come up with no testing, with no cure. Please, if you're going to do it, go on and get it done like you've done the flu and this, that. That's exactly what they've done with the flu. They didn't come up with the pandemic piece. They basically found the cure, and then now go down there and get your inoculation, and that's an ongoing piece, and people go and get the flu shot every year. So with that, I paid my piece. Jack, you got another piece you want to add?
Well, the only thing I would say, Bruce, is when we talk about COVID-19, it's when I've talked to doctors actually around the world about COVID-19, we have to realize that we think that we're shut down here. I've talked to people by phone just the other day in the Middle East, and they are completely shut down. There's no travel at all. They can't go to the mosque for prayer. They can only go to the grocery store on a designated appointment. So it is really locked down in other parts of the world. But the difference is this is such a very different disease than something like the flu or SARS. And I lived in Southeast Asia when SARS hit. SARS, you would immediately get a high temperature, and within really 24 to 36 hours, you would know whether or not you had the disease, and the symptoms were very compelling. This is much different than that. We have false positives. We're still trying to learn how to really designate if you have it or not. Is the positive test a confirmed positive test? So we're still learning about the testing. And as to vaccinations, everything that I've heard from doctors, they all expect it will be like the flu, which means there's no guarantee that you won't get the flu, but it mitigates the risk. So we may have to become accustomed to wearing face masks. That may be part of our new norm in the future. So it's very different. There's no simple solution, regardless of what Fox or CNN would say. And we're going to have to listen to what the doctors say and recognize there's uncertainty in our future, which I know makes people very uncomfortable, but that's just part of our new reality.
Okay. But you would agree that the doctors are not all on the same lane.
No scientist is ever on the
it's
same
all about
lane.
the money. About the money, you see?
It's
about that
all
money.
about its interpretation of the data. You get a consensus, that just means you got the majority of them agreeing on one particular idea, which they reserve the right to change given more data. That's the magic of being a scientist.
Right, depending upon who gets the most grants, right? The grants.
Well, we can say that.
All right, sounds good. Let me bring Dwight in. See, I got to bring that community in there. How does the community feel about this piece?
Hey, man, we're with the first part you said. You know, we trying to eat, man. And we hungry out here on the streets, man. We hungry. I mean, we hungry out here on the street. And y'all all up in some philosophy about fossil fuels and all the fuels. And
That's
we
right.
like, okay, well, we'll be fossils by the time we get a stimulus check.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, you'll be finding us buried and dead by the time they decide that we're even important because of all the other things. Like right now, I couldn't get it in the policies of what they're doing because I'm like, okay, well, you got this big old logo, Black Lives Matter.
Right.
But just cut us our money, then you can get the legal money later and get there. Let's stick on the focus of what you're saying. You said we matter. And there's thousands of us right now, man, waiting and being baited by our government to be back in that cheese line at Jefferson where you get the big cheese brick and the can of pork. So they trying to take us back to the can of pork and the brick of cheese. Now, I ain't mad about it, but we done got past the pork and the cheese.
You want the whole hog.
Hey, we eat chicken and bacon and different stuff now. You can't just give us that again. And it sounds like right now our government is setting us up on the way that they're trying to iron it out to be on welfare and be here like I'm doing right now, waiting for the 1st and the 15th. Because all I can do is wait on what they're saying they're giving. They keep telling the community we were going to relieve you. We're going to relieve you. We put the money in your community, and 6 months later, people are still waiting to get the relief, but they passed the bill, they signed the paper. Why is it such a long transition from them to my kitchen table? I mean, we got to get it from them right to the table. We can't have no middlemen, nobody stopping it in between. It needs to come right from them to the dinner table.
You got it.
And you're going to lock us down. You're going to take our jobs. You're going to make us wear masks. And I ain't got nothing at the dinner table. Then you say in between bites, lift your mask. Well, I ain't gonna have nothing to bite. I ain't gonna have to lift my mask. Ain't gonna be nothing on the table. I'm gonna have to just wear the mask until I die. So I'm hoping at some point, Brew, that they could get past all these gangs. I understand politics. I know y'all right, left, right. But what about us stuck in the middle?
That's right.
What about us stuck in the middle? We stuck in the middle of something that got nothing to do with what we talking about, and we waiting for some relief money, some phone money, some electric money, something.
You know, you make a good point, because before the relief money was coming in, I was eating because I had a job. I might have been making $6 an hour, but it was enough for me to go to the downtown store there, buy me some pork chops, some greens, this, that, the other, and I could still make it. Now today is that I'm just waiting for a check. I don't want to work no more. Just send me my check, okay? Anyway, I think this might be a good note to leave at this point in time. This has been great, guys. This has been great, and we're looking forward to next week. We're gonna have another Dynamo show for you. We're gonna have quite a guest, and we're gonna go from there. But please vote. Get that ballot out and vote.
Do your research, vote. Do your research,
vote. Okay. Well, with that, we're gonna take it easy. Have a good one. Enjoy yourself. Stay safe. Have a good one.